Hey, welcome back to That'll Do Garage. Thanks for joining me. This is part 2 of our series on the PowerStroke 7.3 injector cups. In part 1, we removed some doodads and got the valve covers off, and we got a little pile of parts down there. But we're just about ready to do part 2 here, which will actually be injector removal and inspection. So let's get started. Well, as you can see in part 1, we got valve covers removed and some of the intercooler piping and that sort of thing. We're going to start now by disconnecting these electrical connections, removing the valve cover harness, and then we'll start removing the injectors. First thing we're going to do there is drain the oil. This kind of tube looking thing up on the top of the cylinder head is actually an oil rail, and that's full of high pressure oil, so we're going to drain that out so that it doesn't run out of the injector ports for 24 hours. Before we start taking the injectors out, we need to keep in mind that we're opening up the top of the cylinder when we remove these injectors, and that means that the coolant and the fuel and the oil is all going to be able to go right into the cylinder. So some folks try to plug things off and drain things so that they can't run into the cylinder. Some people will just say go ahead, happen, and pull the fuel injectors and the glow plugs out and then crank the engine over before they put it all back together. But the point is, you can't leave that mess inside the combustion chamber, or you can actually hydro lock the engine if you have a bunch of fluid in there. So we're going to think about that. We're going to drain fluids at the right time before we pull things out, and then we're going to try to minimize the amount of garbage that drains down in there, I guess. I'm just going to fold this little metal retainer back and push the clip straight down. There we go. Straight down. Okay, also going to disconnect all of our glow plug connections, which I think it kind of often requires a needle nose to sort of grab the plug and pull on the plug. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just grabbing right at the top of the black connector on top of the glow plug. Come on, baby. There we go. I think that's everything, so let's see. Will it come out now? Just gonna putz with these a little bit, get them free. Okay, yep, there we go. That's all there is to it. Injector connector and glow plug connector on each one. Getting a little nervous about this gunk up here. So okay, let's get these oil rail plugs out. One here, one right there. I think this is a 1/8. Let's give it a go here. Yeah, beautiful. So pretty small plug. Pay close attention and don't drop it. Just like that. And again, the reason we're doing all this now is so that there's less fluid flowing down into the combustion chamber after we remove the injectors. So our next step is going to be to remove these little screws here that hold this little deflector tube in it. It's kind of a little channel to route oil in just a certain way. So we'll get that out of the way, and then we just have one screw to loosen on the injector, and we should be able to pull them out. Okay, so that oil's just about done draining. We're going to come in here, take these bolts out. It's a 5 Allen head, and remove the little deflector. And then we're going to come back here and take out that bolt, which is I think an 8mm, and that should be all we need to do. So this can take a little putzing, but basically we're just going to use a pry bar shaped like that. You're going to slide this bracket forward and up. And then we're going to put the pry bar underneath and pry off of the surface of the head or the head bolt too. Should get a nice little pop when I get it out there. There. I think we got it. Let's go a little farther. There it is. Perfect. And then I'm just going to let that drain, not in the hole it came out of, but actually into the side of the cylinder head over here. So I'm not putting more fluid down into the cylinder. Well, let's take a quick look at this injector. So first thing you want to see, this little copper crush washer down here. You want to make sure that's still there. If it's not here, that means it's in the bottom of the injector cup, and we got to get that out of there. Next thing we want to look at is just the condition of all these different O-rings, the orange, the pink, and the black here. I'm just looking for any tears or chunks out, anything that shows that it might have been leaking. Guess I don't see anything, nothing jumping out right away. We are going to replace all these anyway. These can have a huge effect on the way that the truck runs and emissions and cleanliness of combustion and all kinds of stuff. So we'll definitely get a reseal kit. It's not too bad. They're pretty cheap. Another thing we're going to do is put these back in exactly where they came from. And there's a few different reasons for that, but we'll lay it all out on the table here and we'll label each cylinder so we can put everything back where it was originally. And I guess the last thing, we're just going to look at the end of the injector and make sure there's no damage, there's nothing broken or chipped off there. And this one looks okay. I just want to take a quick look down the injector hole here. You can see the cup down at the bottom, that whole bronze colored assembly. There's multiple levels or layers to it based on the fuel and the coolant and the oil. And that's where stuff can get intermixed when those cups have a crack in them. So that's what we suspect on this particular truck. But I don't see any surprises down there. I don't see any big chunks or cuts or gouges. So we're going to go ahead and disassemble the rest of these injectors, and then we're going to pressurize the cooling system. and see if we can see any coolant coming out. Well, I think that's going to do it for part 2 injector removal. Make sure you stick around for part 3. We're going to be removing and replacing all of those cups, I believe, and also throwing everything else back together in terms of the injectors with new O-rings and all that stuff. So thanks for your time today. I hope you enjoyed the video.